Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the rest of the Caribbean. It is Tuesday evening, June 4, 2024. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video. I really appreciate the fact that you guys got my last video up to 300 likes and I only asked for 100 likes. I really appreciate that. I am grateful and I'd love it if you guys get this video up to 100 likes again. If you don't know by now, that's how the YouTube algorithm works. We all like the video and the YouTube algorithm shares the video to more weather lovers or rain lovers just like you guys, so that we can build this weather community and keep everyone safe during the peak of hurricane season. Share this video with your friends, your co-workers, your relatives, and even your church brethren, and subscribe if you haven't yet done so. Leave a comment down below letting me know what the that's been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any weather related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. Alright, so let us take a look at what the Atlantic tropical activity is like during the month of June. So we're right here. We just entered the month of June, and as we can see, we don't normally expect much activity during this month. We usually expect most of the activity during the months of August through to September and into October. So if we get anything in June, it is quite a shocker, but it wouldn't be surprising, especially given the very warm sea surface temperatures. And we can see the sea surface temperatures right here. You see the yellows, the oranges, the reds. A lot of this having to do with way above normal sea surface temperatures across the Atlantic and the Caribbean, that we know is the fuel for all of these tropical systems. And with the La Nina set to take the stage around the peak of hurricane season. Well, La Nina we know has to do with the below normal sea surface temperatures across the eastern to central Pacific, that we know causes a ripple effect. So we have La Nina here that causes the eastern Pacific to shut down in terms of the thunderstorm activity. There's going to be a lack of that, and if there's a lack of that, there's not going to be much wind shear being blown across the Caribbean to tear off the tops of thunderstorms. So these thunderstorms are definitely going to be thriving, making way for more storms to form across the Atlantic. So the Atlantic is good to go. Hopefully it's not as bad as projected. Either way, as it relates to activity and the tracks during the month of June, we usually see it more often than not across the Western Caribbean, curving into the Gulf of Mexico, across the southeastern United States, and even across Central America, curving northward into the southwest or the southern United States right there. And as it relates to tropical storm origin points from 1851 to 2009, these red dots do a good job in showing where we have activity or storm activity forming. We see one dot right here to the north of Jamaica, a couple dots right here across the Gulf of Mexico, etc. However, as it relates to named storm origin since 1950, we can see that we have even some red dots across the main development region. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly what unfolds. Either way, if we take a look at what the NHC_TAFB is showing, that's the National Hurricane Center's Tropical Analysis and Forecast branch, we can see that they made a post today highlighting the very system that has been affecting portions of Jamaica. So they stated, June 4, a tropical wave is moving across the Caribbean, sparking thunderstorms from the Windward Passage to south of Jamaica. What's the Windward Passage? The Windward Passage is right here between Cuba and Haiti. And we can see all of these thunderstorms right here that the Hurricane Center is referring to. And they mentioned the thunderstorm to the south of Jamaica as well. Seas are also 6 to 8 feet in this area. So they're basically stating that a tropical wave is definitely affecting the island, and they even went into details on their Atlantic tropical weather discussion. We're going to be zooming in to this information right here. So they stated heavy rainfall in Hispaniola, Jamaica, and eastern Cuba. A persistent upper-level trough over the western Caribbean will sustain a defluent pattern aloft across the area through Friday. This will support the generation of strong thunderstorms capable of producing dangerous lightning, heavy rain, and gusty winds through Friday. Heavy rain can lead to flash flooding and mudslides, especially in areas of Hispaniola where the ground remains saturated from recent heavy rain events. Latest model guidance indicates that the most significant precipitation are expected over north-central Dominican Republic. There are also indications that significant rainfall could occur over parts of east and central Cuba, where abundant moisture will linger through the rest of the work week. The rainfall over Hispaniola and Cuba will be heavily influenced by diurnal heating and the local and effects. As a result, the heaviest rainfall will occur in the afternoon and evening hours each day. So, we're still being affected by the trough, and the tropical wave is interacting with this trough. So we're definitely going to be getting in a lot of activity, especially during the afternoon. And we have that diurnal convection, we have that daytime heating, which explains why most of us got the thunderstorm activity during the afternoon today. So we have to have that daytime heating to strike a match. We have to have the heating in the atmosphere, and that's exactly what brought the thunderstorms that we got. And if we actually take a look at the next 7 days on both the Euro and the GFS model, so we're going to be keeping our focus here on the forecast hour and the date, not to mention across the Caribbean right here where we have Jamaica right here. So let's see exactly what unfolds over the next 7 days, the next 168 hours. So we still see a lot of moisture pushing through, even in Wednesday, Thursday as well. Not to mention Friday, we still see a lot of greens that represent moisture. We can see all of this being represented by the key on the right, all of this in inches, even some yellows in there. And then we see that by next week it's starting to cool down a bit, definitely getting most of that rainfall out of here. So by the end of the 168 hours, which is 12Z on Tuesday, when you calculate that, that's 7 a.m. on Tuesday, we see that most of the rainfall should be to the south and west of Jamaica. But what does the GFS model show for the same time period? So we're going to be going out in time to the next 168 hours. We see that as of right now, we have a lot of greens that we can see by the key on the right that represents the 1 inch of rainfall up to maybe up to 4 inches of rainfall, maybe even more than that in some spots. We see all of that rainfall into Wednesday going ahead. Then we have that into Thursday as well. Friday, look at all the deep convection of these darker greens across the island. Very interesting to see exactly what's going to be unfolding within the next 72 hours. Saturday into Sunday. Sunday we start to taper off with all of the rainfall. So I guess by then we can stop showing all of these maps, considering that most of the weather should be out of here. However, we see somewhat of a difference. Look at the Euro and look at the GFS for 18Z on Tuesday. Well, for Tuesday in general, we can see that the Euro has that green that represents rainfall out to the south and west of the island. Something similar on the GFS, but GFS has more of that rainfall on land than anything else. We'll see exactly what unfolds. Either way, it's setting up for quite a wet pattern across the Caribbean, and it's our rainy season, so it's quite understandable. Even the accumulated precipitation forecast maps are in consensus that we're going to be getting on a lot of rainfall. We see all of the blues and the purples that represent up to 1 inch or 2 or even 3. Even on the GFS, we see something similar. And even if we take a look at the weather nerds precipitation accumulation, we still see that they're showing something similar, especially across eastern Jamaica, where we see all of these purples that represent up to 3 inches of rainfall or more. Either way, the U.S. National Hurricane Center isn't highlighting anything on their 7-day outlook at all as of 7 p.m. or 7:03 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is actually 6:03 p.m. Jamaica time. However, what we see is something else on the Climate Prediction Center's Global Tropics Hazards Outlook. So this one came out today, that's on June 4th. They usually come out every Tuesday. And what do we see? So we're going to be focusing our attention right here across the Caribbean. So we see the lighter shades of greens that we know by what we see on the key on the bottom, that represents up to 50% above average rainfall. And we even see all of that increase by June 10 to June 25. So we see that for June 12 to June 18 at first, then June 19 to June 25, we have even more rainfall expected. And not only that, we see some red and white colors there that we can see by the key on the bottom left, that represents a 20% chance of tropical cyclone formation probability. So we might have some kind of a system trying to form across the Western Caribbean, if not the southern Gulf of Mexico or section of the Eastern Pacific right there to the south of Mexico. We'll see exactly what unfolds, especially considering that there's going to be a Central American gyre trying to form. We mentioned it in yesterday's video, that broad area of low pressure that we know can bring a lot of moisture across the Western Caribbean into the Eastern Pacific. It's just a waiting game at this point, and I'll be here to keep you all posted. Taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, you can still see that the entire Atlantic basin is being dominated by ridges of high pressure that we know are responsible for sending all of the easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean. Not to mention these numerous tropical waves, one right here to the southwest of the Cabo Verde Island, one right here equidistant from Africa and South America, and another one right here affecting sections of northeastern South America. So sections of Suriname definitely getting on some amount of wet weather. And we can still see that we have that cold front attached to a trough of low pressure, and this trough is definitely dipping southward into portions of the Greater Antilles, including Jamaica. The trough has also, let's say, interacted with the tropical wave, because there's a tropical wave here yesterday, and now that it has pushed westward, it has now interacted with the trough, and there's definitely a lot of bad weather taking place across the Caribbean, including Jamaica as we speak. And we can see all of that right now on the visible satellite images. First of all, we see a lot of clouds associated with the intertropical convergence zone squashed to the south of the main development region. This is normal. That's where all of the air from the northern hemisphere meets the air from the southern hemisphere. And then we have all of that air rising, and we have clouds, showers, and thunderstorms taking place. And all of this pushes towards the west. However, with this kind of flow, we're seeing that a lot of this is pushing towards the northwest into portions of the Eastern Caribbean. A lot of moisture taking place across the Leeward and Windward Islands. And we can see the clouds associated with that cold front attached to the trough, and the tropical wave that has mixed with it, bringing a lot of showers and thunderstorms to sections of Cuba, Hispaniola, and even portions of Jamaica. But by the time the night came down, we saw that most of the cloud cover showers and thunderstorms are pushed up towards the east. We'll be talking more about the rest of the Caribbean weather later on. Let us focus our attention on what was predicted in yesterday's video about the weather across Jamaica for today, Tuesday, June 4th. It was stated that we would have received some morning rainfall across sections of some eastern parishes in Jamaica. Then the rainfall would affect sections of eastern, central, and western parishes during the afternoon. And just for reference, eastern parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Surrey. So Portland, St. Andrew, Kingston, and St. Thomas. Central parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Middlesex. So St. Anne, St. Mary, Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine. Our western parishes, we're talking about those parishes in the county of Cornwall. So Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, Westmoreland, and St. Elizabeth. And what ended up happening? First things first, at 6:25 a.m., we saw that we did indeed have some thunderstorm activity taking place if we load the beginning of these frames. So this was 6:55 UTC. If we calculate that, that's about 1:55 a.m. Jamaica time. So we did indeed get in on that early morning rainfall across sections of some eastern parishes, just as predicted. Eastern St. Thomas, eastern Portland definitely got in on some thunderstorm activity, but we saw that the upper level wind shear was blowing all of those high cold cloud tops off towards the east. So that indeed confirms what was predicted for the morning. Then during the afternoon, we saw that we had some clouds building as another post was made on our Twitter page at 1:35 p.m. By the way, these posts aren't only made on our Twitter page at Weather Jamaica, but they're made on our Instagram page at weather.jamaica, on our TikTok page at Weather Jamaica, and on our Facebook page at Weather Jamaica 876. So if you have one of those social media platforms, please ensure that you follow us there as we make posts throughout the day that you can't afford to miss. Alright, so we saw the visible satellite images were definitely posted, and they showed a lot of clouds bringing isolated showers and even some isolated thunderstorms within there. Across sections of some eastern, central, and western parishes in Jamaica, we saw those sparkling yellow dots that we know indicate some amount of lightning strikes, if not lightning flashes. But we saw that most of the heaviest weather was right there off towards the northeast of the island at that time. Then by 4:15 p.m., we saw that most of the thunderstorms that we were seeing earlier started to develop even more. Look at those thunderstorms right there, those blacks, even some grays and whites and purples in there that represent some deep convection, and we see a lot of lightning flashes as indicated by the sparkling white dots, especially across sections of some central and eastern parishes than anything else. So we definitely had that bad thunderstorm activity. Some persons were definitely glad for the rain. I'm sure most weren't glad for the lightning and thunder at all. And then by 6 p.m., we saw that most of the clouds were starting to push off towards the east. They were still lingering across sections of some eastern parishes than anything else. And we have some of our followers on our social media platforms confirming the rainfall in their area. We had Lamon Rakes right here posting a video showing that it was definitely raining in his section of Portland. Definitely some nice heavy rainfall right there. Warren Barton 1212, Raina Washway, Portmore Bud. Even on our Facebook page, we had Megan Patterson stating raining in Spanish Town, Lance Brown raining in St. Catherine, Amanda Blake raining like crazy in St. Mary. Even on our Instagram page, we had the comments coming in. Princess underscore Shell stating Portmore nice and cool. Boys mom underscore 365 stating never been so happy in my life for rain. Oh my god. And we had KK Sweets 2 stating Portmore happy enough. Then we had Sugar stating rain, thunder, and lightning in Portmore, living it. And then finally we had Finey underscore 2 cute stating me can finally say Kingston in mix. I don't want it. Stop. Send down your rain, Father God. We need it, man. Even Robinson Andrew stating rain, thunder, and lightning in are on hold. Harbor. So we saw we definitely had that rainfall. And even if we take a look at See Jamaica's YouTube channel showing the live stream as of 8:33 p.m. as we can see here, matching the time that we have, we see that the road is definitely still wet. Earlier I saw some persons walking with their umbrella to signal that it might have still been raining lightly in some spots, but for the most part everywhere is starting to dry up as we speak. Because if we take a look at the latest infrared satellite images, most of the activity has now pushed off towards the east. As a matter of fact, let's reload these images so that we have the very latest. First of all, if we even take a look at the visible satellite images of Jamaica before the sun went down, we saw that we had those clouds across eastern, central, and western parishes in Jamaica. Then, by the time the sun was getting ready to go down, majority of the high cold cloud tops associated with those cumulonimbus clouds were being pushed off towards the east, just like what we're seeing now on the infrared satellite images. So it's gonna be clearing out as the night progresses. More so when we have some stars coming out tonight. And if we take a look at the latest Cuban Doppler radar images, if you don't know by now, we have to be using the Cuban Doppler radar because the Jamaican Doppler radar has been down for quite some time. I spoke to Evan Thompson, that's the principal director of the Meteorological Service of Jamaica, last week, and he actually made mention that the radar should be up and running by July, hopefully. I don't have to call him back in August stating what's going on because it's not working still. Hopefully they actually get it sorted out soon, because we love to see the Doppler radar images. We know the Doppler radar images show the actual rainfall, as you can see, represented by the greens, the yellows. The greens representing light to moderate rainfall, the yellows representing heavy rainfall, even the reds represent some severe weather. We can see most of the rainfall associated with today's activity now pushed out towards the east, and we can also see some lingering rainfall across section of Negril, even Westmoreland right there, most of it off towards the west of the island. If we take a look at the temperatures right now, you can see that we're 26 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 27 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and by about 4 a.m. on Wednesday, temperature should dip down to about 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 26 degrees Celsius in Kingston. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, this map from the GFS is showing 18D on Wednesday. When we calculate that, that's 1 p.m. on Wednesday, and we can see Jamaica right here embedded in some yellow and some orangish colors that represent 1 to 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures based on what we see on the key on the right. And we know the normal temperatures for the month of June across Jamaica are about the same as 90 degrees Fahrenheit. 90 degrees Fahrenheit, when we take a look at the thermometer, is about the same as 32.2 degrees Celsius. So if we should be receiving up to 2 degrees Celsius above normal temperatures tomorrow, we should be anywhere from 32 degrees Celsius to 34 degrees Celsius at most. Taking a look at the dry air map, we can still see that there's a lot of moist air across the region, especially the Caribbean, where we see all of those blues. We don't like to see all of the yellows, oranges, and reds at all, because all of that represents what we see on the key on the bottom, a lot of dry air that we know can choke off most of the rainfall that we've been lacking during the month of April and even May. Remember how all of this area was filled with a lot of yellows, oranges, and reds, and now we're indeed grateful that we're getting on some more moist air. We can also see that the Caribbean in general, especially where Jamaica is located right here, is in the clear for Saharan dust, as all the browns that represent the Saharan dust should be stretching all the way from Africa across the Mediterranean region and affecting portion of the eastern Caribbean. But we know all of this is definitely going to be pushing westward eventually. Hopefully by the time it gets to Jamaica, if it gets there, most of it has dwindled down to nothing. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we see a mixture of those lighter shades of blues and those darker shades of blues that we can see by the key on the bottom right, that represents anywhere from 0.5 meter wave height to 1 meter wave height. And that's because the winds are going to be coming in from the east southeast tomorrow. We can see that flow, and we see that the general direction should be coming in on both the Euro and the GFS malls, definitely from the east southeast, which means that the air could be piling up across sections of some northern and western parishes. So who knows, if we still have rainfall coming in from the east southeast, that rainfall will be coming off of the sea into sections of some southern and eastern parishes. If we don't get rainfall in the morning, and all of that rainfall is during the afternoon hours, it's going to be piling up across northern and western Jamaica, bringing more so in the way of those thunderstorms across sections of the north than anything else. And with the upper level winds coming in from the west northwest for tomorrow, as we can see here from the GFS, it could favor some rainfall in the morning hours across sections of some southern parishes if we get rainfall in the morning. If we get rainfall coming off of the sea, definitely southern parishes will get in on that, but the thunderstorm activity will definitely be plaguing sections of northern Jamaica. We know northern parishes, we're talking about sections of Hanover, St. James, Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, and Portland. If we take a look at what the rainfall forecast maps are showing, this map from the Euro and this map from the GFS are both showing 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 11 a.m. Jamaica time. And we see the differences. The Euro a bit more robust with the amount of rainfall expected by that time, with all of these blues plaguing sections of eastern, central, and western parishes in Jamaica. GFS has some dots of blues, but not as robust as what the Euro was showing. Skipping ahead to about 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 2 p.m. Jamaica time, we see the Euro still showing something similar to what it was showing earlier, with the blues across eastern, central, and western parishes that represent rainfall, while the GFS is making more sense, putting more of the rainfall across the eastern portion of the island, the western portion of the island, and the northern portion of the island. So that's definitely going to be the forecast, especially considering we're going to be having an east-south-easterly flow. So whatever comes off of the sea across eastern Jamaica definitely going to be pushing north or west-northwestward. And as usual, we have that air piling up across western Jamaica. In general, they're used to it. So I'm more inclined to believe what the GFS is showing. So eastern, northern and western Jamaica than anything else. We can definitely see all the whites that represent little to no rainfall across sections of the south. So section of Manchester, Clarendon, St. Catherine might get little to no rainfall tomorrow with the given low level flow. Even by 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is actually 4 p.m. Jamaica time, we still see more of the same. The blues are represent rainfall across sections of some northern parishes, maybe some lingering rainfall right there, starting to wrap up. GFS a bit more robust than the Euro. We'll see exactly what unfolds at that time. Either way, both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus that we're going to be receiving rainfall within the next 24 hours. This map from the Euro and this map from GFS are showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Wednesday. And we can see the Euro a bit more robust, showing those darker shades of reds that represent what, up to 1.3 inches of rainfall. GFS showing up to at least 0.9 of an inch of rainfall across the north. It makes sense that the north coast will be getting in on most of the rainfall, especially during the afternoon, especially given what was stated by the U.S. National Hurricane Center with the upper level trough interacting with the tropical wave, and the fact that we're going to be getting in on that diurnal heating that's going to be influencing the heavy weather across the Greater Antilles. But remember what they stated, most of the heaviest weather should be across Hispaniola and Cuba, but Jamaica will definitely be in the mix. Either way, we're indeed grateful. We're going to be receiving rainfall somewhere across the island tomorrow. We're in the month of June. We're in our secondary rainy season. We shall receive up to 133.35 millimeters of rainfall during this month. So we'll take all the rainfall that we can get to put some kind of a dent in the drought that some areas are currently experiencing. Not to mention the heat that some persons are very tired of. We'll take the rainfall to cool down the temperatures. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let us focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have clouds associated with the trough, still bring some thunderstorm activity to section of the southern Bahamas, Cuba, Jamaica, Hispaniola, section of the eastern Caribbean definitely getting in on the mix with all of that moisture. Not to mention sections of Nicaragua, Guatemala, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, sections of French Guyana, Suriname, Guyana associated with that tropical wave that we mentioned earlier as well. If we take a look at the Doppler radar images of the northeastern Caribbean, we're going to be seeing that most areas have quieted down at this time. You still see some hit or miss showers lingering across some spots, but if we actually put these images into motion, we'll see where we had that rainfall today. So some definitely decent rainfall across section of Dominica, Guadeloupe, Antigua and Barbuda, sections of St. Kitts and Nevis. Not much in the way of some strong rainfall that we've been receiving all week across Puerto Rico at all. And as usual, we see that rainfall across northeastern portion of the Dominican Republic. Taking a look at the Barbados radar, we don't see much happening across Barbados right now, definitely in the clear, but we do see some rainfall associated with the moisture that we mentioned earlier in the satellite images, still affecting sections of Dominica. We see some rainfall right there to the east of Trinidad and to the south of Tobago. If we take a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can also see the moisture associated with that tropical wave right there to the northeast of French Guyana, some of it affecting sections of western French Guyana as we speak, heading into Suriname. We can also see some amount of rainfall right there affecting sections of Colombia based on what we saw in the satellite images. If we take a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we see that above normal temperature should be plaguing majority of the Caribbean, especially right there where we see all of the reds and the blacks across section of Mexico, Texas, and sections of even Belize, Guatemala, and Honduras, where they're still being plagued by that heat wave. If we take a look at the Saharan dust forecast for 2 p.m. on Wednesday, we see that majority of the central to the western Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico should be in the clear, as all the browns represent the Saharan dust, should be across majority of the eastern Caribbean islands, so the Leeward Islands, the Windward Islands, all of this stretching all the way into the main development region coming off of Africa. As it relates to the wave forecast for tomorrow, we see those lighter shades of blues that we know represent anywhere from 0 to 0.5 meter wave height that should be plaguing the eastern Gulf section of the western Bahamas, the western Caribbean, the southwestern Caribbean as well. I will have those darker shades of blues that represent anywhere from 1 to 1.5 meter wave heights across the central to the eastern Caribbean. And that's because the strongest wind will be across those areas, coming in from the southeast across the central to the eastern Caribbean, averaging anywhere from 15 to 20 knots. While the southwestern Caribbean, the western Caribbean, the western Bahamas, and eastern section of the Gulf of Mexico should be having more so a flow from the southeast or the east-southeast, averaging anywhere from 5 to 10 knots. Southeasterly flow across the western Gulf of Mexico, averaging 15 to 20 knots. However, as relates to the rainfall forecast now, these are the maps that we're here for. We want to know where it's going to be raining within the next 24 hours. And we see that both the Euro and the GFS models are in consensus with where the rainfall is expected. So definitely some more rainfall in store for sections of Cuba, sections of Jamaica, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the Leeward and Windward Islands right here, section of the Bahamas, not to mention sections of the Turks and Caicos, sections of Guyana, Suriname, French Guiana, but more so in the way of coastal areas of those regions, especially considering the flow of all of the moisture from the intertropical convergence zone, sending all of it towards the Windward Islands into sections of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago. We see most of the rainfall should be affecting sections of central and southern, as well as western Venezuela, Colombia, Panama, Costa Rica, Nicaragua, Honduras, El Salvador getting in on the mix. And the thing is, if we look at both the Euro and the GFS models, we're going to be seeing the consensus of where the rainfall is expected. I know that when they're in agreement like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.